Well, folks, Daniel Bryan has been officially stripped of his title. And in a strange way, they actually had the belts already hanging overhead. Don't tell anyone. We start off Raw in a very predictable fashion, pretty much having the Authority coming out there, of course, to talk about Daniel Bryan and the possible stripping of his title. The only jacked up part is that Daniel Bryan really wasn't able to come out and actually have his little moment, give his speech saying, as much as I don't want to give up being the title holder, I have to because of my health. It would have been the most honorable thing to do. Because the one thing I don't like about the storyline is the fact that the Authority is still talking about he is not an A+ player when he's literally beat every odd that he possibly can beat. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at this guy, and he still overcame it. Now, when it came to Triple H talking about the reality era, the reality would be that this guy is an A+ player, and there is something about him. He's not an A+ player because he has an injury. He has a very critical injury that could possibly end his life if he gets in the ring. That makes him not an A+ player, so he has to fight with a broken neck. For crying out loud, if you really want to continue with this ridiculous Authority storyline, make it a little bit more realistic. This is the reality era, unless he was making that up. But besides all that, it's a typical heel move when you're a part of a really huge faction such as the Authority to put one of your own guys in it without being a qualifying match. I did object to this at first because it just seems so completely jaded and very unfair to the mid card. Because the purpose of the Money in the Bank was to have some kind of it was to give some kind of a glimmer of hope to the mid card to make them feel like they can actually have a shot in being the World Heavyweight Champion, and that's what Money in the Bank is for. I really don't know what they're gonna do with this pay-per-view now, unless they're going to have one Money in the Bank match and one standard ladder match is going to have someone who's going to become a title holder, whatever. But it seems like the Money in the Bank is not totally Money in the Bank unless they actually add the briefcase in one match and actually it's going to be a standard ladder match. That's pretty much what it's going to be. You can't call it a Money in the Bank match if it's just a standard ladder match. But unless they add the Money in the Bank briefcase in there and still have the championship match for later on, then I'll be fine with that. But right now, I am not particularly sure how this pay-per-view is going to go and how they're going to fill in all those slots. But so far, we have about 4 people that has already filled in the holes for the Money in the Bank match itself, and we got 3 people left. So I guess they added Randy Orton in there because they're really short on time, which means they only have 3 shows to fill up all the spots. And then on the 3rd week of this month, on the 26th, I believe, they're gonna have the actual Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So they're going to probably have another match on SmackDown next week on Raw, and then they're going to have another match again on SmackDown. So it's going to probably be about 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns before they end up filling up the card. But that's beyond that. I really hope that this pay-per-view doesn't flop, and I'm really hoping it goes well because this is something different. We haven't really seen anything different from Money in the Bank in a very long time. So I'm really hoping that this is different, and I'm hoping that it actually goes well. So I'm not going to try to speak any ill about it or try to jinx it. But let's move on to the actual show itself. The qualifying matches, in my opinion, were way too predictable. Of course, they're good. We've seen these people perform before. And, you kind of want to see something different. And they all had the same predictable outcome. I kind of wish that it wasn't Wade Barrett versus Sheamus because even though I know they're good and it's always a great match, we know what happens in the very end, people. Barrett doesn't ever come out on top. The only time he did was this time when he was actually going up to be the IC championship holder. But as for any kind of qualifying match for the world title, no, he falls flat on his face. Even if the guy is part of a major faction that literally pushes him out there and makes him somewhat of a star, he still falls flat on his face in every single World Heavyweight Championship match there is. He falls short. And that's why I kind of wish it wasn't him. I really wish it wasn't him because I knew Wade Barrett would never be in that position to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He just not. But let's be real. Sheamus has been World Heavyweight Champion more times than we can ever count. Shoot, he was World Champion on his debut. Can you imagine Sheamus winning again? Yes. Can you imagine Wade Barrett? No. At least not right now. I'm not saying he's completely shut out, but I'm saying that's what usually happens when he's versus Sheamus. So it kind of predicted the outcome right there. But then let's move on to Cesaro's match that he had with RVD. We've seen this before. We know that these guys are great. We know that they're going to have a great match, and we knew the outcome. RVD's purpose is to put over the new talent. That's what the Legend's purpose is, to put over the new talent. But RVD always gets these title shots, and they always fall short. That's why I'm like, you really don't need to put over Cesaro anymore. Cesaro's already put over, way put over. And RVD, it's just making him look bad, in my opinion. They should have had RVD gone a long time ago. And he should have stayed gone instead of coming back, because he's not doing anything for his career. His career is still stagnant. And I think he should just end it after this pay-per-view, in my humble opinion. I think he's a bad guy. He's not really doing anything for him. But as for the Divas match, boy, the one thing that kind of gets me is I really don't understand Alicia Fox. Like, the only person that really did a really great psychotic character was Mickie James. She's no Mickie James. She just looks really freaking crazy. Not only that, she took somebody's popcorn and water. And the last time that happened, somebody complained. Not so much by taking someone's food, by literally ripping up somebody's sign. We had a mom that ended up having a story, and a mom complained when one of the heels actually tore up the signs. It's part of their character. I have no beef with it, but we know how people are. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be in the papers, seeing how a mom or a dad's going to complain that she stole their food and drank a little bit of it and then just dumped it on Oksana's head. I guess this whole crazy gimmick is all she got, so whatever. But Paige is a great talent. It's great seeing Paige perform in the ring. I just wish that they put her in a storyline already. It's been more than 3 weeks. I really feel that after 3 weeks, if they're on the main roster from NXT, you should put them in a decent storyline with somebody. Maybe they're holding out for AJ. I'm hoping that that's the case, because that would be a really great feud, not only for Paige, but also for AJ if she decides to completely leave and not come back. It'll be a great way to go out, but that's just me personally. But then you got poor Damien Sandow. He really doesn't know what he wants to be. He's literally trying to reinvent himself in some kind of other character with a whole bunch of gimmicky things. Whether he's dressed up as a nerdy superhero or he's dressed up as, I don't know what he was trying to be. When he like literally wore the new spandex, trying to be, I guess, a really geeky version of Baryshnikov. I have no idea. But all I know is that the guy was just wearing a complete nude leotard and he looked weird in the ring. And I feel bad for him. I really hope that he comes up with a character that works soon and he doesn't have to humiliate himself night after night. But I will admit, it was pretty darn funny to actually see him like that. But it's just sad, honestly, that he has to literally dress up like that every single night. Yeah. But honestly, y'all, the main event of the night, pretty much the overall theme was about the breakdown the Shield. Not so much about Daniel Bryan as it was before. Now it's all about the breakdown of the Shield. We end up having the most surprising moment that we've ever saw in our entire lives. And honestly, I wasn't completely surprised, but I was like, whoa, like that. At first, I thought it was good. I mean, they kind of teased it was going to be Dean, and then the popularity of Roman Reigns, you would think it'd probably be him, but it ended up being the Architect. Ended up being Seth Rollins that actually turned against the Shield and ended up becoming a part of the Authority. He's not so much a part of Evolution, I don't believe. I think that he's just a part of the Authority. And the fact that he came to the ring, that segment that he had where he spoke out was practically one of the most best segments of the night. Because seriously, it made him look good. If he wanted to portray himself as a decent heel, he did that night. I mean, seriously, it was awesome. I liked his promo work as a heel. He's really good as a heel. And I really hope to see more of him. And I really want to see how he's going to be being a heel against his brothers in the next pay-per-view. I'm kind of interested to see that. And I thought that was a really great segment. Seriously, the guy is pretty bold. And speaking of guys, I'm not a Paul Heyman guy, but I am a Paul Heyman girl. And Paul Heyman really did tease everybody thinking that Brock Lesnar was there, but ended up being Cesaro. Paul Heyman is the man. I love Paul Heyman, seriously. Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins literally kind of made my night. it made it really interesting to watch, but then moving on, it just became a little bit too predictable, especially with the whole Jack Swagger and Santino thing. I really wish Santino would be taken seriously as well as having his comedic bit. But let's be real. Jack Swagger is in a slump. He needs something to kind of boost up his character as well as his overall morale. And unfortunately, the whole "we the people, we the racists, we hate foreigners" thing is going to continue. But hopefully that may end soon, because I'm really getting annoyed with the whole racist thing. It's not going anywhere. But besides all that, let's talk about the main event. The main event of the night was, of course, a really great main event. We have seen the Shield and we have seen the Wyatt family go at it. But like the commentators actually said, John Cena wasn't out there because of the Shield. He was out there because he didn't like the Wyatts, which was a really great way to tie it in. But besides the commentators, they really were not on point all night. That was the only time they were on point. They had been off here, there. They even got words wrong. I don't know what's going on with the commentary, but they're really starting to suck. And I really wish that they actually do switch it up, especially with King, because King is quiet for most of the night. And then you got John Layfield that's pretty much spouting out at the mouth all kinds of nonsense, trying to be a heel, but then being a face at the same time, not really knowing what he wants to be. And then you got Michael Cole, who's practically the most professional talker of the entire night. I'm not saying that there are times that he's off. I mean, shoot, he's been announcing things wrong for the last few months. But besides all that, at least he's a lot better than Cole and Law. I mean, he's a lot better than Lawler and Layfield. He's a lot better than those two. And I really wish they actually start switching it up. But besides the commentators, let's talk about the actual main event. The main event was really good. But it kind of made it interesting for me, the fact that Dean Ambrose did not touch or go anywhere near John Cena, as well as Roman Reigns. They bypassed John Cena more times than I can count. It reminded me of an episode of Total Divas when Summer Rae kept tagging Tamina, and Tamina, I mean, it was like going back and forth. She did everything not to tag Eva Marie, and she kept tagging someone else. That's how it kind of felt with the way it was in the ring. They were bypassing Cena, and at the last minute, when Cena was like on the rope, it was like he had no choice. He had to tag him. But if you also noticed before, John Cena didn't really come down to help those guys. So you can tell there's kind of like heated animosity there, but he did get the ever-loving crap beat out of the Shield. So it's kind of heated animosity there. And that's what I liked about it. That actual match told a really great story. It didn't really forget what they did to John Cena. And John Cena didn't forget what the Shield did to him. But he did what every true red, white, and blue face would ever do in the WWE. He would come out and do what's right. Even though he didn't like those guys or the Wyatts, he was kind of neutral, and you can tell, and that really did tell a great story in the ring, in my opinion. But guys, my overall thoughts is this: even though the overview of the qualifying match were very predictable, they were good matches in themselves. Of course, they will pull a heel move, even though I think it's pointless to even do that. But either or, it wasn't a bad Raw. It actually was a pretty decent Raw. They had a really great highlight moments. And I didn't really have a chance to see all of SmackDown, but I kind of remember the qualifying match before with Alberto Del Rio. I hope he doesn't become champion. But guys, either or, I want to hear your thoughts about Raw. Leave a comment in the comment section below or send me a video response on how you felt about Raw, what you think about it, and what do you think about Money in the Bank? Are you going to watch it? Do you even care if it's going to be on? I'm curious. And honestly, before I was kind of upset about how Money in the Bank is going to be going, but then I had to admit it is something new, it's something fresh, and I'm kind of interested in that. And I'm kind of interested to see exactly how they're going to make this go out. So I'm probably going to watch it. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts. It's Snitch Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.